All right, here we are with episode one of Beyond the Clutch with the illustrious, the legendary, the man, the myth, the legend, Sir Scoots. For our younger audience, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'm here with the esteemed legendary owner of Clutch Gaming, right? Like those that know, you know what I'm saying, right? That's it, right?
There you go. Appreciate it.
There is an old wiki Wayback Machine somewhere that mentions that clan. You can find it.
There
You know.
you
Uh,
go.
my name is SirScoots. I'm an old dude that's into gaming and esports and video production. Been in the space for a very long time. Thank you for having me on. It was really neat to connect with you in this last couple months. We both lived
Appreciate
together.
it.
That was fun. And yeah, to have me on the rebirth of the podcast is super cool. Um, and so yeah, I've been in gaming for a while. I'll kind of go fairly quickly through it. You know, I'm an old dude. Professionally, my jobs have been everything, but like most of my actual career before I started getting paid doing stuff around this world was in event logistics, meeting planning, and freelance stuff like that. So I worked for very large meeting planning companies and corporations, helping them execute their large scale events, whether they were sales events or big sporting, hospitality events. I worked Olympics, World Cups, all sorts of stuff on the road, but literally lived out of a suitcase for decades, cost me my marriage, all sorts of things. But it was a super cool job. Went to a lot of cool events, like I said, Olympics, Masters, golf, all sorts of stuff. But on the side, I was a gamer. Always been a gamer. Been a gamer since I was a kid. Had an Atari, arcades. Never stopped being a gamer. When you could be a PC gamer, I became a PC gamer. Quake, Doom, all that kind of stuff. Never got into the RTSs. StarCraft never got my buzz going. Really shooters, stuff like that, puzzle games, but lots of shooters. Um, and then, magically, what we'll talk about a lot tonight is Counter Strike. You know, in 1999 or in 1998, um, a game called Half Life drops by Valve, and it's a mind blowing game. Half Life was genre breaking, right? Just like Half Life 2 was really genre breaking when it came out later. Um,
That's a different topic.
yeah, insane. But out of Half Life, and what really the cool thing that came out of a great single player game, it's been remastered, it's been remodded, really still fun to play. But what came out of it, and games of that era, was this mod community and this ability to make mods on someone else's base game engine and do it for free, right, with your own sweat equity, right? And so
Hmm.
these Valve games all started getting mods, right? And one of them, Counter Strike, came out of Half Life, right? I mean, it's kind of funny. Like Dota is a mod of World of Warcraft. You think of stuff like that when you think of the mod community, and these become
Yep.
full fledged games, right? Obviously, Counter Strike is now long ago became a full fledged game, but it was a mod made by two Canadian college kids, right? Um, and it was great. Download for free, play it 1999, June 19th, right? So
Right. Yep.
I did, right? And I fell in love with it, right? And I very quickly bumped into some very like minded, I would say kids at the time, because they were kids to my not kid age that were all over it as well. It led me to join in a clan called UGP, and we competed. And I didn't really know this kid Skits, who was a high school senior in California, was like, "Yeah, you want to join my clan?" And I'm like, because I was playing with him and doing what he asked me to do, right?
Yep.
And he was impressed by that because just like now, people don't often listen when you ask them when you're playing a team-based game. And back then, team was hostages, or you were yanking hostages back and forth and shit, right?
Yep.
Um,
Like on oil rig and militia.
yeah, oil rig,
Yep.
fucking desert, like
Salt. Yep.
yeah, assault.
Yep.
So I joined. So he explained. I'm like, "What's a clan?" Because I'm like, I'm thinking clan, KKK, clan, right? Because I was, yeah, I didn't know what guilds were, And he's like, it's like, it's like the best way to explain it to you, Scott, is, uh, it's like a Tuesday softball team, right? He put
Yep.
it in like boomer terms for me, although I'm like, Gen X, but. Um,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh, and he's like, we're gonna show up, we're gonna sign up to some of these leagues, all online, right? All online at this point,
Hmm.
and we'll compete and we'll play each other. There's rules. It's all getting organized right now. I'm like, oh shit, cool, yeah, count me in. Now I very quickly was not one of the good players, so I very rarely played for UGP, but I very quickly became a manager owner runner of clan website,
Yep.
etc., like that, right? Which is fine,
You
right? I
you
had
were
no
the
problem.
you were the face of the team.
Yeah, yeah, and again, I acquiesced my skill set to young guys that were way good compared to me, right? And that's fine. We like winning. We like, and again, back in those days, we the biggest thing in the very beginning was this thing called the OGL ladder. Well, it was the OGL ladder.
I
That's
was
a
gonna
I
say
said
it was
ladder twice there. Yeah,
Cal
yeah.
didn't exist back in the day. It
Yeah,
was OGL. Yeah.
OGL, this ladder system, and you started climbing a ladder, and you would play those above you and below you. They would challenge you, and you accepted their challenges. If they beat you, you got points, yada yada yada. And we sat on the top of OGL ladder for like 28 weeks or some insane fucking thing, right? I still remember to this day this guy Moto, who was the IGL leader.
This is a no-name guy named
Yeah,
Moto,
yeah,
right?
he'll be an answer to some of the other questions that you actually you have for me tonight. He used to always say, yeah, we used to see UGP on the top of that ladder and be like, we will fucking get there. And that was before he was a 3D. He was with a different team, but like he aspired because that's all we had, right? And out of that though came a bunch of leagues. Cal was the biggest and baddest because it was regional and it was divisional by
Yep.
skill set, like really well flushed out. Like where is it now, right? Uh, maybe that's also
Wish it was still around,
maybe that's an
honestly.
answer to a question that you also have on your list, right? So anyway, so UGP, we're kicking everyone's ass for a little while. Not for very long. It was a very brief window that because the game was new, the competition was new, but very quickly we got eclipsed. My little crew got eclipsed, and we could not keep up because professional teams start showing up, etc. Um, but we went to events as UGP. We went to several CPLs as UGP, but usually to lose and have a good time, hang out, meet everybody. Because again, we were all online, like so just to hang out with people
Yeah.
was super cool, right?
That was the fun thing to do back then was
Yeah,
so yeah.
and watch everybody else
Hmm.
play the game better, right? Because we were fans of the game of Counter Strike. I am still a fan of the game of Counter Strike. As I was saying in the other record, I don't watch much nowadays. So you can't ask me much stuff about CS2 and who's good, who's bad.
Of
Um,
course.
and
Yeah.
like there's some answers I don't necessarily have for nowadays because I'm about 3 or 4 years removed from caring about active CS, either playing or watching.
Yeah.
And we can get into
Of
that too.
course.
So yeah, so UGP leads to meeting a whole bunch of people in space, and I meet the guys that are running gotfrag.com, which is a news website doing all things to cover Counter Strike, much like ESPN in print would cover all things sports. They were doing all things Counter Strike, Midway and Gang, and they were sports dudes that were gaming dudes that went, oh shit. And their oh shit moment was they were all in a clan called RDW. This is going
Yep.
to be a long trip down memory fucking lane. Um, they were in an old clan called RDW, and a bunch of they were going to CPL to compete, but a bunch were not going, and they wanted to keep up with it, and there was no way to keep up with it. There was no streams, there was no watching, there was no grab your phone and like walk like we're talking like
There
early
was no
2000.
Twitch. There was no
Yeah,
YouTube even.
yeah.
YouTube
Um,
didn't even exist back
yeah,
then.
it came fairly quickly, within 5-7 years
Hmm.
or so. By the end of it, CPLs were being streamed. But like those early days, like you were looking for something to watch or refresh text-wise, right? There
Right.
were IRC bots. You could watch matches happen, and it would say SirScoots shot, but like a kill feed, but in a fucking chat, right?
Right.
Which now you can watch on Half-Life TV, right?
Hmm.
If you can't watch the stream, they've got
Yep.
their own chat bots. So anyway, so I bump into these guys midway, and they're kind of growing this thing, but they went and the very first time, and the reason they did it is they started a website, and guys on site were feeding guys offsite scores and updates, and they were typing them in and trying to do a place you could go at least get updates, bracket and shit, and the website kept crashing because so many people outside of the few dudes that actually wanted the info within RDW were getting linked and trying to keep up with the CPL because Europeans were there. Like they were big tournaments, right? They were the thing to be figuring out that for those 4 days, right? If you cared about Counter Strike,
Yep.
so that the light bulb in midways and all those guys' heads were like Joker was one of the guys back then who was like, oh shit, we should, and they did. So they launched a sports site dedicated to Counter-Strike called Got Frag. Anyway, they asked me to join. I joined to help them organize stuff, lead people, because you have to figure out like how to run a daily newspaper, right? Because
Yeah.
you have to have daily content. At that
Uh-huh.
point, you're making your money on ad buys and um, printed content. So website eyeballs there. We eventually, obviously, launch a product called Prime where you can pay. So a subscription-based model to get better content. We're doing super cool playbooks and shit. We're doing strategy playbooks so good that the teams are boycotting us as a company, right?
I used
Could
to
you
u- I used
imagine?
to I used to use your playbooks.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding.
complexity. I mean, I shouldn't say teams because it wasn't like in a huge egregious thing that happened a lot. But complexity, for one, it was a thing for a while. It was drama. That they're like, no, we're not talking to you because your playbook, because our playbook really did break down from their pistol to like after the pistol. If they win, they'll probably do this or they'll probably and with pictures. Bootman and Weenus did great fucking content, man. Um, you ask me what's missing in a lot of stuff these days, I would say that kind of content, right? There's lots of coverage and lots of like in your face like stats and rankings and that's great like never before. So anyway,
Yep.
I joined GotFrag to help them organize everything. We expand the company. We actually blow it out to do more than we basically. This guy Kuhn built this huge portal system, so it was very easy to update, very easy to add stuff. So it then became very easy to actually spin a portal of GotFrag off for something entirely different, right? So we had portals for Day of Defeat. We had a portal for Xbox news, right? Various
Yeah.
for
Call of Duty also
yeah,
when it
Call of
first came
Duty for
out.
hardware. Wherever we
Yep.
thought there would be a dedicated, because what we realized very quickly is you can't put it all in one place, right?
Mm-mm.
That's why a sports center for esports has never worked as a video show, or like League of Legends folks want their news and Counter Strikers want their news. So we spun off portals where it made sense. We had a hardware portal so we could talk about video cards and mice and peripherals and all those different things, because then you can talk to Microsoft or SteelSeries and you've got several places for them to maybe advertise to a user base, right? Because they were hard. Anyway, so we did that for a little while, and what really got fun for us, and what I'm still doing today, was Gotfrag TV. MLG. So MLG is doing their thing while we're doing our thing. They start growing console esports. They start delving into PC esports. On top of that, World of Warcraft was the first one. Um, they buy Gotfrag and a bunch of other web-based portfolios at the time. They bought MMO Champions when they bought us, which was a huge World of Warcraft website. I mean,
Yeah,
eclipsed us
it was
in viewership.
massive.
Like
Yeah.
probably still eclipses. It might even still be around. And they were
It, it
basically
it definitely is still around. Yeah.
yeah, and at that
Yeah.
point, the parent company, the folks behind GotFrag were like these AOL executives who had infused MLG. Not, I said GotFrag, but they were behind us now. But like the guys behind MLG were these AOL executives that venture capital and money brought in to infuse MLG with a bunch of money. That's why they blew their product out. And their whole idea was to add to that portfolio, make it really tasty, and sell it to like actually an ESPN,
Yeah.
a mainstream media company that would care about gaming and esports, right? To get that young demographic. Never happened, right? They sold it. They ended up selling it to Activision Blizzard years later, but unrelated. So we do that for a while. We actually open a studio here in Phoenix. Gotfrag TV has a physical space. We do live shows out of it, a broadcast desk. Talent flies in and shit. Bunch of people move here. We rocked that for a little while, but then um, what basically happens to us is we were not in charge of selling our product. The MLG folks in New York were. Long story short, they couldn't get enough monetization or didn't want to, whatever. So they closed the Phoenix studio, offered a few of us jobs in New York, and laid off the rest of us, rest of the folks. I got offered a job in New York. No, thank you. I love where I live. I own my house. I've lived here a very long time. I have no desire. We used to go to New York to meet with MLG. They had tournaments there and stuff. So great place to visit. And even in my event logistics job, I went to New York a bunch. Love New York City as a place to dip into for a period of time. The energy of New York City, that's a lifestyle choice, right? It just is, right? And you can't like live out in the burbs and like that ain't gonna happen. So no thanks. I said no. not interested. I can go back to freelancing and doing a bunch of different stuff. I'm fine. Thank you anyway. Good luck. Have fun. Uh, and so I do that. I just start fucking around, freelancing, consulting, doing different stuff. But then Alex Garfield from Evil Geniuses reaches out to me, and he's grown this company into quite a monster. During my entire Gottfrag time, when I actually joined Gottfrag, Alex is volunteering at Gottfrag as well, and he's volunteering to, and that's actually how I started. In all reality, the very first things I did for Gottfrag were rating frag movies for Garfield because he ran the little media section of the website that you could rate, like upload and rate movies and stuff,
I,
right?
I was gonna say Gottfrag at the time was the only place where you could legitimately download all the frag movies, like
Yeah.
all the
Oh God.
Sunman movies that came
So
out, and
much is gone.
it was
Like,
it was
yeah.
I used to look forward to, like, there'd be like a little blip on Gottfrag, like, Sunman's gonna release his new video or whatever, and
Yep.
you'd sit
Yep.
there and
Fucking
refresh the
Sunman.
page.
Yeah. So, and that's and Midway and the executives, if you will, saw me in their channels, and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because I was Sir Scoots. Everyone knew I was. They're like, "What are you
Yeah,
doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh, Chip Squad." Chips is Alex Garfield. His tag was Chip Squad. I'm like, Chips asked me to like hang out and like help him with movies and shit. So here I am. And Sofa Kings was their IRC channel, right? Uh,
yeah,
and and that led to them going, well, do you want to do more? Because fuck, dude, like, because again, at that time there weren't a lot of adults in the room, and let alone a lot of adults in the room that wanted to volunteer and like bite into shit for real, not just like, yeah, I'll play, right? And I was
yeah.
all for it, because I had a job, I didn't need money at that point, I had things going, so that I escalated into like various jobs. I think ended up at COO of Gottfrag, but then me and Jason Bass ran the company. But then when Gottfrag TV launched, I became vice president of broadcasting, Gottfrag TV, blah, blah, blah. Did that with Alchemist. And it was super cool. Again, we were broadcasting, figuring out how to do as much cool shit as we could with the cheapest gear as we could, right? Again, very much esports budgets. But how do we make it look like a football game? How do you make it look like a basketball game? How do you do instant replay? How do we do those kind of things, right?
Right.
And so Gottfrag did that for a bunch of years. That closes, leads to EG. EG, great. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I did a whole bunch of media shit, so I've done kind of the media side of it, and maybe a little bit of the TO side of it. If you think of MLG as a tournament organizer, right?
Yeah.
And because again, also part of that Got Frag stuff is we helped them. We did all the World of Warcraft broadcasts. We did live streaming from all their events. So we took our show from Got Frag TV in our studio here on the road, and broadcast a bunch of events. Um, and then so EG, uh, super cool. It was neat to put a team hat on and have a bias and care about. Very like holy shit, like like caring about a team, whether it wins and loses, is fucking nerve wracking, right? And I don't care what game, I don't care what games you care about it. For obviously, EG was already multi-denominational, if you will. They had several divisions.
Yeah.
Counter Strike still being very big. It went away eventually, but not under my watch. I left, I think, before Counter Strike went away, maybe. Um, but so I did that for a bunch of years. StarCraft during that time. Again, this is all happening within like a 5-year period, right? So I leave Gottfrag, but MLG is still cruising forward. StarCraft is blowing up, and all this other stuff is happening, right? I'm at EG. We grab StarCraft or StarCraft 2, I should say, and we blow up right along with it, right? We get Idra, we get Hawk, we get
I was gonna
Koreans,
say, I was gonna
Control.
say,
Like
yeah.
we get a bunch of North
You
Americans, and
you
then
guys had
we went
everybody.
past it. Yeah, we
Yeah,
grabbed all. It was us and Liquid, right? We were just
pretty much.
rocking, right?
Yep.
And that's when Liquid went for. That's when Liquid StarCraft 2 is when Liquid decides, oh, because Liquid was a coverage site. They were a coverage set of dudes, right? They were a Gottfrag, but a whole forum and a whole world built on RTS and StarCraft and Korean, because that shit never stopped from StarCraft, right? They
Oh,
kept going. So they had their own shit going, and they went, "Oh, we should have a team." And so they got into like worrying about the team side of it in earnest, right? And so it was really cool. So I would go back to MLGs, but not as a Goffrag dude, but as an EG dude, right? When they
Yeah.
were doing StarCraft, and that was super cool. We went so far as to open the EG Lair here in town in Phoenix. We opened a really nice house.
You had that here in Phoenix,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah.
I
Right
didn't
past,
know that.
dude. Right
I
past
didn't know
Desert
that.
Ridge Mall, baby.
Oh
Yeah,
my
fuck
God.
yeah, yeah.
I
It
had
was,
no idea.
yeah, it was super cool. My idea, because again, we were like, okay, like we were the Western equivalent of a Korean StarCraft team. How do
Yeah.
we, how do we try to remotely compete? Well, what do they do? Now, good, bad, or indifferent, they jam them all into apartments, right? And they have a hierarchy system of where you play, what leagues you play in, GSL, etc. And it's very cutthroat. And Koreans by nature are very work ethic centric, so it's maybe easier. They're not Western young teenage dudes, right? Maybe it's easier to sell them that dream, right? And again, they also lived the dream of StarCraft that never went away in their country, and the shit was on TV, and those guys were on billboards. So, like again, different carrots you can dangle, right? So we went, well, let's do that. Let's open a house. Can we get our guys to move somewhere? And we did. It was a nice place. They all, I think after a while the shine wore off because who likes living with a bunch of dudes after a period of time, period, right? Um,
I think a bunch of teams tried that, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah, we
MIBR
all tried
and
houses,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like complexity at a house, like everyone tried it, right? Because that's the best way to boot camp without going somewhere to boot camp at home, right? And it was just when we had the lair, we were on the cusp of Twitch and streaming, so we had Twitch deals because our guys were streaming. So you monetize it, you put a big monster fridge behind them in the lair where they're streaming from because Monster's paying you, right? So it helps get more money out of everybody if you can do something like that, right? It is a very arduous task, right? It lasted several years, right? I left EG before the lair closed, I think even. Um, and I basically got kind of just I was over it, right? So I did that for a bunch of years. I'm trying to go as quick as I can. Long fucking podcast. Sorry. Um,
It's fine.
I
It's
think your note said 3 minutes. Scoot says who he is. Yeah, good luck with that. Uh, so I got kind of tired of the babysitting of it. I think I've gone on record going. I got kind of tired of like the diva mentality of a lot of the players in the scene because again,
that's why
right.
I quit too.
Yeah, and rightfully
That's
so.
why
You
I
know, you
quit.
put them on a
Yeah.
pedestal because they're so goddamn good at the game. You can't have it both ways. You can't grow an esports team and elevate players and go, though, I don't like that. But I just was over it, right? And I think part of it was bucket checklist. Like, okay, now I've done this. I helped Alex take this thing to this thing. Super cool. Time for something else, right? And so I left, and I was just frustrated with a lot of different things. I quit a lot of things at the same time. So I was doing a huge podcast with Slasher and DJ Week called Live on Three. And what I found, and it was a weekly show that we ranted about all things gaming and esports, and we ranted. I yelled, we screamed, we brought guests on, we yelled at them. I'm famous for yelling at fucking Sundance, going, just give it to fucking Gold, because Gold was a tier on their platform that you paid for, and we were talking about like the stream and videos and stuff, and like what to give it to. I'm like, just give it to fucking Gold. Anyway, and I basically I found myself in a really weird predicament because I really liked being incredibly outspoken and loud on Live on Three, and Sam was on my mind, but it absolutely detracted from me also being a face and a public speaker within Evil Geniuses. I wasn't behind the scenes there, right? Like if I shit on a tournament organizer or a sponsor or an endemic, maybe not our sponsor, or what does happen if Steel Series gets in a huge drama that Live on Three should cover, and Steel Series gives us $250,000 a year as EG, unrelated to Rod, Marcus, and I on Live on Three, right? And I am not one to ever want to pull my punches. So I'm like, you know what? I'm over all of it. And so I literally left Live on Three, and I left because I was kind of that. So I left EG because I didn't want to. I was losing my voice. I literally the more shows I go on, the more podcasts I go on, and I'm part of this. The more not anymore, but back then, right? The more interviews I give, the more I'm not the Scoots. Everyone like I'm a loud, outspoken dude. Way less now than I was. I mean, way less in the last 5 years. But back then, I was like, I'm over this. I want to say what my piece because esports is going through it always. always going through it. And I don't want to ever hurt evil geniuses. And I also don't like that this is turning into kind of like I'm afraid to wake up and look at my phone to see what one of the players said on social media, right? And that's just the nature of it. Like that's you have to suck it up. That doesn't go away. That's the nature of wanting to be a team owner, right? But I was over it. I was over it. I was over wanting to be a
It's
team
like
owner.
owning a sports team. It's the same thing.
Yeah, right. And
Yep.
that's just baggage with the gig, right? And I was over that.
Exactly.
I was over carrying that baggage, right? Don't begrudge it, but because again, we would wake up and what did Idris say? Oh God, he said what about who, right? And I just didn't like it, right? And I found myself angrier and angrier as a human and all these things. So I kind of quit it. And then with Live on 3, what was happening is everyone wanted us to be the Sports Center, right? And we were turning into, why didn't you talk about this on your show last week? Well, because it's fucking League of Legends, and we don't talk about League of Legends. But League of Legends is the biggest esport on the planet. And no begrudging to League of Legends fans or League of Legends. I'm not a player, not a fan, don't care for it. I think it's a great spectacle of production. I think Riot, like on that level, great esport. I have I don't play those kind of games, right? But back then, if you didn't talk about worlds or drama that happened with it, and also to keep up on all the drama, you got to pay attention all week, right? It's a cycle, right? To be like, you want to start a weekly news show, get ready to have to consume every piece of content that relates to that fucking genre you want to talk about if you want to be good at the job, right? And it went from a rant cast about us three guys going, what do you want to rant about this week? And we go, well, this happened. Let's talk. And we'd make our little run show to like a long list of like news that we'd have to talk about, right? Because then
Yeah.
you start talking about, well, do you want to monetize it? Do you want to grow your user base? Do you want to grow your numbers? If you start talking about more esports and you do it authentically, will you get more viewers? I don't know. I don't care. I don't want to talk about League of Legends. I don't want to talk about some of these games. So I kind of left it all within that same like couple months, right? And went just kind of, I'm backing off. I'm going to freelance, maybe consult, maybe do some whatever, right? God, long fucking podcast already. Buckle up,
You're
buttercups.
good. You're
Every
good, man.
guest after me, boy, good luck. Like, it'll be easy. So we're at EG. So I leave EG. I kind of semi-retire. I leave like One More Game TV. One More Game TV was the production company that ran several shows. I was only on one of them, but Marcus hosted several. We had Kings of 10 and a bunch of different shows going. It was cool. It was its own little like network of shows. Maybe also ahead of its time. Um,
Probably was.
yeah,
A lot of that stuff back in the day was,
yeah. Now that's an
you know,
OTK that's monetized with a bunch of streamers. We get big viewership people. It's a whole different thing, right? Anyway,
right.
so where are we? So then I just started freelancing shit, right? And what happens during all that, and I think my timeline is right, is kind of I'm streaming. I'm also a Twitch streamer, right? So SirScoots partner, I'm streaming, doing my own bullshit. That's what I just doing. Then I can rant in my own stream for a while. I don't do it anymore. I should. I don't. I haven't
You
streamed in years.
should.
I should, but I haven't streamed in years. So then I truly just start freelancing stuff, right? And I do have a broadcast background and I own gear and I have gear. So I start getting gigs to do stuff because similar to stuff we were doing at Goffrag TV, right? So I start freelancing for ESL and for Blizzard. I'm directing shows and going to BlizzCons and doing StarCraft gigs for them. I do some shows for fucking MLG, right away, right? Because they know what I'm good at. And I basically became their StarCraft 2 B stream director for a couple shows, right? And called shows and ran shows. Did that for several years. But what I found is, okay, now I'm back on the road, just like my old event logistics career, living out of a hotel in suitcases. Now I'm doing it for esports productions, getting paid less, having kind of a different time because it's show business and it's live TV versus events, or not necessarily live, in the same stress element. And, you're not live broadcasting; you're just live with people around you. It's just
Yeah.
different. So I do that for quite a while. I'm enjoying it. That it's good. And then what magically kind of happens is EG gets sold to Twitch. Twitch buys EG, or I should say EG. Twitch buys Good Game Group. At that point, Good Game Group is Evil Geniuses Alliance, which is a European esports team. And I think he might have added a tech company or two on there by then. and Twitch sees it as a way to bolster their sales force. They had a whole bunch of eye in the pie sky ideas. The idea was to use what the sales team behind EG was doing and help all the Twitch teams that were partnered with them, not just and kind of get those deals going to a lot of people, make content, all sorts of anything. I was already gone. I had already left. But I got paid, right? That's what I'm
There you
saying. So
go.
I was removed because what happened with EG is they went from a remote set of dudes to an office set of dudes and dudettes in San Francisco. Good game group. He had investment. He was rocking and rolling. Then Twitch buys them while they're in San Francisco. They were rocking and rolling. Uh, uh, because they were just selling a lot of deals to a lot of different things, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so anyway, so Twitch gobbles them up. I get paid a shitload of money for my shares. And I'm like, oh, now I actually can retire. What do I want to do? I don't want to do fuck all for a while. And so I didn't until Counter-Strike Go happens, right? So then Global Offensive gets dropped. Um, and I've stopped kind of freelancing and working for people and doing event work. Um, and my mom has moved in and she's living with me. That also is part of it. I become a caregiver for my elderly mother. She moves here, which shifts a lot of my priorities and a lot of things I care about in these last 10 years. She was here about 15 years. Um, but Go gets all these tournament organizers really excited about streams and shows and shit. And so they start asking me right away, like, hey, will not to produce, not to direct, not to be behind the camera, but hey, will you help us figure out the show? And will you be on our desks? Right? Because they knew StarCraft. And again, a lot of people around that knew Counter-Strike, but I'm like, yeah, sure. So like, 2013, the very first major, right? DreamHack. I'm on the analyst desk with me, BSL as the host, and Thorin. We ran that desk like fucking champs. But then, and then, people started having analyst desks, but BSL doesn't have the greatest English accent, and he'd say that himself, right? He's got a fairly thick one. So I immediately, and I would never say I'm an analyst, right? I know the game really well. I can certainly do all that shit. But my brain doesn't think like I don't want to be an analyst. But put me in that host desk. Put me in the host chair. I'll run the desk, right? And I'll ask the host what need to be asked, right? I'll run because your host is also your on camera director. He's the conductor of the show that way, right? And so that was a
Sure,
really good
of
fit
course.
for
Yeah.
me. And I could also tell production, yeah. So yeah, we'll do groups, then we'll do brackets. Then like I could help because I come from a director's chair. I could help write the run of show, so to speak, because I would also be the one that would then run the run of show on camera, so to speak. So fell right into that. Loved it. Loved hosting desks, right? And also when you talk about guys like Thorin and fucking Yanko and Richard and pros like Garrus did a few desks for me. Like I had
I was gonna say Garrus
really
was
good
really good at
analysts,
that.
right?
Yeah.
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 I had started to step away when when I was there. Mose was a caster doing play-by-play in color, not doing so. But Mose obviously became a great analyst. He did a few things with us, right? Major and stuff like that. But always had great analysts, right? And host job is to tee up your analysts and then do the housekeeping of the production of the show. We'll be back after the break. This segment brought to you by, right? That's unrelated to Counter Strike. That's just related to getting in and out of a show, right? That could be a Pokemon thing. That could be a domino tournament, right? And
Yeah.
then it's turning to those guys and making sure they got really good questions, right? And then I did interviews in that tenure of Global Offensive. Those first couple years, I did a lot of desk work. I did a lot of sideline reporter interview work, right?
Yep.
So loved doing that, and then that got me really active with players' rights and player association stuff. Before the player association, the PEA, a lot of this stuff in the write-up that people will see if they read your write-up. You actually brought it up. It's great. During all this, when I'm around all these players, and I'm around this thing blowing up because it was blowing the fuck up, and esports in general was blowing up. A bunch of esports were starting to fill fucking arenas and not
Yep.
just little exhibition halls, right?
I mean, it was StarCraft in the beginning, and then Counter Strike, and then League of Legends
Yep.
came along, Dota, and then
Yep.
Fortnite. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yep.
super cool. Like the salad days of when, we were still spending for growth. The VC wasn't maybe even quite there in earnest yet in the sense of like, oh, fuck, esports. So it was more in earnest investment, right? Not speculative investment, right? ESL was three companies owned to go back then, right? If you want to look at it that way, or two companies owned to go, they got bought by MTG, then they got bought by Saudi Arabia. This is when they were just ESL, and ESL and DreamHack competed and didn't like each other. And Face It didn't like DreamHack. Now they're all one big happy fucking family.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
they're all yeah.
yeah, years
Yep.
later. So I started freelancing a lot of talent gigs for Global Offensive and loved it, right? But that led me to talking to a lot of players and understanding a lot of challenges, and obviously also understanding challenges from being an ex team owner, right? So I started helping players with player advocacy issues, right? It first starts with the PEA drama, which we don't need to go into detail, but North American team owners wanted to start a closed league. That's all well and good, starting your own product, but they were going to force their players to drop the ESL Pro League, which was the place to play at the time, right? It would be like saying, "Hey, all you teams, all you players over here, we know you're NFL players, but we're starting the AFL, or the XFL. You're going to come over here and just play each other. That's it." And you're not going to be part of the NFL anymore. You can go, you could travel and play them because they weren't, but like Pro League at the time, well, that was the shit, right? It was a big deal, right? And the year this all went down was the first time that they had combined them because for years they ran European and North American, right? Separate Pro Leagues, right? Um, and they were combined, and Cloud9 won. The boys won, right? Nothing in
Boys
the gang
won.
had won. And
Yep.
then in the offseason, this all goes down, right? So the players come to me, they go, "Hey, man, we don't like the way this is shaken out, right? Can you help us maybe talk to them and help us figure out what the hell's going on?" Because again, this is not to demean any of the players, but adults and businessmen in the room versus kids just wanting to play a video game in the room, right? And they knew they were kind of out of their depth. They knew they were maybe getting a little bamboozled, right? Jordan, Hiko, and Sean Garris came to me and basically were like, "Hey, like, can we look into this?" And so we did, and I was like, "Yeah, you starting your own league, like on one idea." The bummer, again, again going down this road. The bummer of it is, on one point, nothing
You
wrong with
brought
the
you brought it up. You brought
yeah,
it up.
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah,
gonna touch on it.
because on one side of it, the team owners are just trying to figure out how to stay open, pay the bills, make being a team owner in esports a lucrative, pay the bill. Like, there is no profitability at this point. Still is no profitability. 20 years later, this is not 20 years ago, but so I everyone was like, when they announced it, we were all like, "Oh, this is cool. How are you going to fit it in the calendar? How are you going to work it? Like, this is neat. Nothing wrong with this, right? Another place for people to play, another place for your logos, another place for fans to watch." All we cared about, and I say we collectively as a bunch of us, we're like, where are you going to fit it into the schedule so it works? Because you have all these other things. And where they fucked up is when they first announced, the very first question that was that. And they were like, "We're working with all the stakeholders. We'll find some place in the calendar so we're not looking to compete. We're looking to be additive," right? And we're all like, "This is great. This is fucking great." Especially because, again, the dilemma of North American Counter-Strike is always not enough North American Counter-Strike success, which you need money to have rosters and salaries and exposure. So them doing this maybe helps us win more shit just globally, right? So on that part, no bones against the idea, right? Go for it. Go for it, right? Um, then months roll by, and basically what happens is the team owners start having meetings with their players, and each meeting gets closer and closer to, "Hey, what if you didn't play in EPL? What if you played in Facet's league?" Faceit has the ECS going at the exact same time, although different times. Everyone has a chunk of the calendar to do these leagues, right? And these leagues also at this time are online more too, and they're not like fly to Malta and sit in a studio. They've changed these pro leagues. They've become bigger now, right?
Yeah.
So they're all meant to be kind of online within like LAN finals and playoffs and that kind of shit. Um, and so they basically go to their players. They're like, hey, what if you played in ECS with the Face It guys and our league, but dropped EPL? And they were all like, no, like EPL is the league. We have a bunch of one-off weekend tournaments, and we have one, and now there's more, right? Blast didn't even fucking exist back then, right?
I
So
was gonna say
a
I
couple
don't
years later,
even.
Blast shows
Yeah.
up, right? Um,
Exactly.
and even Face It changes their product several times, right? But like, so they're like, no, like you're literally asking us to leave the NBA to go to your little like not NBA, and these dudes, one of their major concerns, which is again, it speaks to the competitive nature of players, right? Their biggest concern was less playtime against the better teams, and if we lock in a closed team system in North America, and again, we're honest with ourselves, and they were, three of these teams are really good, and the rest of you are dog shit.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to spend months playing. This is not good for me. This is not good for when I do have to get on an airplane and go somewhere else. It's detrimental
Yeah.
because that time is wasted, right? So they had lots of great reasons, right? And it got back into the rev share battles. We'll offer you this, and the EPL will offer you this, and basically, the players are like, no, man, like, no, like this is bullshit. We don't want to shit on your product because you pay us, we work for you, we love you, right? We bleed for you, but no. And the teams were basically because I wrote a letter. It got very ugly, obviously. We're not going to get all that. They said we'll put it to a vote. The team owners, the PEA said we'll put it to a vote and let the players vote. And if they vote, we'll stand by the vote. Because I was like, when I was talking to their rep, I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Because I wouldn't be here today if we were gonna lose that vote. Like we're doing this because of how strongly they feel. This is not bullshit. Because I was just repping them, right? What they said, I went and dictated, right? Like to
You were
their
the middle. You were the
to
middleman,
their
the
lawyer guy, this
liaison.
guy Katz, right? That they hired to be the PEA guy, right? And I'm like, you could put it to a vote, but you're going to lose, and it's going to be public. But sure, if you want to acquiesce that way, because I'm not. I like to fight, but I wasn't looking to pick these kind of fights, right? Necessarily, I wanted them to have a product and stand it up, and then if it's good and it can live in our ecosystem of Counter Strike, go awesome. Then that's neat because then you make EPL work harder. ESL has to work harder on their product, and ECS has to work harder on their product. Like I got no problem with team owners making money, right? I was one. I fucking was one. That's the thing, one, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
that happens. They do it. They say, yeah, have them vote. We vote. They unanimously, like to a man, to a team, vote to not to stay in the EP, to stay in the EPL. So PA says, all right, we'll figure it out. We'll go back to the drawing board. They end up closing. They never do anything, right? They come back years later. An iteration of it does come back years later with some of the same components and some of the same vibe and some of the same owners in Flashpoint, right? Right around COVID, Flashpoint arrives as a North American league, roughly the same concept, but this time playing in within the ecosystem, finding dates, run by Monty and Thorne in the sense of content and stuff. Also, thumbs up can be really cool. They actually before they show up though, this PA thing leads to all the players in the world deciding that they should maybe start a player association, right? While we're fighting the PA battle, the European guys are because they're already in group chats without me, without anybody, long before me, bitching
Without you.
bitching about shit, right? Because they always bitch about like the rules. So and a few players would go to a tournament organizer and go, "Hey, this rule's shit. This is shit. This map, whatever it happened to be." So they informally already had these lines of communication. But when the PEA battle is happening, Zipnix and a bunch of Europeans, MBK, and a bunch of like steward type, it takes steward type players that want to worry about bigger things, right? So in North America, you had Hiko and Sean Garris and Jordan, right? Nothing Gilbert, right? And a few others joined after the fact. But these Europeans were watching this battle go down and going, oh, well, they all are players that have team owners, right? The
Sure.
team owners in Europe get in trouble for trying to form WESA, which is another Richard Lewis blows this thing up before it happens, right? It's going to be a closed league done by PEA is a response to WESA, but it never happened. So, but the players almost got, they were getting nervous about it, and they were already talking about it. Basically, Richard Lewis leaks a step and repeat banner that's been printed by this is funny, printed by a printing shop that has all these logos on it, right? It has Twitch's logo on it. It has ESL's logo on it. It has WESA. What is this WESA thing, right? So he blows it up. WESA is going to be a closed league with European teams. ESL will be the TO, and Twitch is going to sponsor it and help pay for it, right? Because it's going to be streamed on Twitch. It never happens either, right? But
Yeah.
it gets all these players basically like, oh shit, we should worry about shit. We should start worrying like adults a little bit, like pro athletes worry a little bit about how that difference is between ownership and players, labor and management, right? So literally during PA, Zipnix and these guys are messaging going, hey, we'd like to talk about, how do we start something that we're all in? Because we all care about the same shit. Yes, in the server, we hate each other, we want to win, but outside the server, we care about all the same shit, right? We care about table height and what monitors we're using and what our media day's like. What are the rooms like? A lot of quality of life shit. That matters, right? You want to perform your best, right? And then how do we get better advice on our contracts? Yes, we're in different countries, so labor laws are different everywhere for every player, but how do we know what to worry about? And again, a lot of pro players are sports fans. They just are, right? Europeans, huge football fans, soccer fans. So they're aware of player association.
It's called soccer.
Yeah,
Let's get it. Let's
yeah,
get it straight
yeah,
here.
yeah. Right. They're all aware of disputes and labor disputes and player associations for these things. They're very powerful entities in sports. If you follow sports, you're very aware of your sports player associations, right? It's just part of the thing, right? And so we couldn't start one in the same way you can labor related, like in North America, NFL. Everyone who plays in the NFL plays in a U.S. based company, yada yada yada. So we started an association called the CSPPA. It was a grounded association, was legal to do business, to do all those things. You can't activate labor laws as an association, just like we can have a chess association or a macrame association or whatever, right? So it was a really good. So that's what it led to. PA leads to CSPPA being formed. A couple guys volunteer in Denmark that are lawyers and player association types from that world of sports in Denmark, which is not me because I don't know that shit. I'm just a loud, outspoken guy who knows this world, right? So those guys brought that whole how the laws work, how you do set up associations, because they helped run the one in Denmark and stuff. So they were sports player centric people. I taught them how to be esports players because they didn't know esports other than they were Danish and they knew Astralis and they knew Zipnix and some of those guys. They were helping them with stuff.
Copenhagen Wolves at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we stood it up. Like again, a long rant, but it is part of my history, especially Counter-Strike related. So we stand up to CSPPA. We actually do some business with ESL. We sign a collective bargain agreement with a couple companies. Flashpoint shows up. We sign an agreement with them, and those agreements covered like quality of life stuff. When we show up, dash should be like this, hotel should be like this, rev shares like this, and the whole idea. And again, it didn't work out. Long story short, record scratch. I left in 22 after a couple years, and I never got paid. I wasn't an employee. I was just an advisor, volunteer to help because the players asked me to help, right? There were a couple paid guys on payroll, those Danish guys, because after a while they could not get paid because they were full-time with what they had to do with these negotiations and stuff like that. But I got into a situation in life that, again, I was worrying too much about stuff that wasn't mine, right? And what I mean by that is like the CSPPA was an uphill battle from day one. And if you try to open a labor union in a market that does not want a labor union, and the world is full of stories of labor, things happening and, people like breaking your union and all these kind of things, right? And the team owners did not want it to happen, and the tournament organizers did not want it to happen, right? And so if they're not going to be in your corner evenly, begrudgingly to try to work with you, it's going to be really hard, and it was, and it didn't work, right? It It just didn't work out. And you need a very active player base, and I think players got very scared of their ownership and TOs, and again, a lot of levers pulled on them. And it's their thing to run and their thing to worry about, right? It's their player association, and it just didn't. COVID hit, a lot of things happened. I stepped away because I'm taking care of my mom. I'm taking care of COVID, and I've launched Do Not Peak Entertainment. That's the last part of this chapter of full-fledged production company. And I can't. Again, I flash back to EG. I'm now worried about waking up and looking at my phone to see what kind of Counter-Strike bullshit's happening and what I'm going to be angry about today. And again,
Counter Strike is a lot.
yeah,
It
and
is a
it's
lot.
hard to fight good fights, right? And
Hmm.
I still nod to guys like Richard Lewis and even Thorin, even though we don't necessarily get along with each other. All these guys and I had bunches of falling outs over the years, but like I still nod to them waking up every day and caring and like wanting to carry the water, because like there's not a lot of give back in it, and so I walked away, and I think it lasted after me. Again, I was not the PA, but I think within a year or so, and now it is long gone. And it's unfortunate, but maybe again ahead of its time, and maybe just um, you've got team owners still trying to figure out how to just pay the bills too, right? And the whole idea behind it, and this is what like I go round and round with these guys, um, because I think the TOs kind of understood it, um, but the players were tired of their entire voice being dictated by what their team owners said to somebody, right? Because you fall under the team owner talks to the TO, TO deals with all sponsors, the TO deals with everything, right? And these players saw it as like these team owners want to be big time sports team owners, but not ones from 2024, 22, 20. Well, this would have been 21, 22, 23, right? They want to be sports owners from the 50s, right? Where they have all control of everything. Their contracts to us are one sided and ironclad, right? Back in the day, every sponsor category in a player contract between a player and a team owner was given to the team owner, right? From watch to head to shoes to anything, all listed there in legalese, right? Nothing for an agent for like a lot of reasons players didn't have agents is there was nothing for an agent to go agent other than one contract, the contract between the team and the player. So every 3 fucking years, the agent has something to do, right? But what you want, and what I said to these guys, like what we're trying to do, and again, like some team owners got it, light bulb went off, but not enough, right? Um, and we weren't trying to cost anyone any extra money. What we were trying to do is carve out their piece of the pie and make it theirs and only theirs, and let everybody else have their pieces of pie. And I'll give you an example. I always use MBK because at the time MBK was this badass French fucking IGL, right? Won a major with Envious, right? Was a North American team player, even though obviously French roster, North America, and Hastro,
Envy is a
yeah,
North American
and
organization, but it
and
was a
and
French roster.
yeah,
Yeah.
and VC'd up, right? Hastro had
Hmm.
VC money. He's spending money. These guys have a place in the French Riviera and a boot camp out of. And I always use them as an example. I'm like, let's say, and these guys were making 15, 20 grand a month, right? From their teams, right? But that's all they were making, right? And then sticker money, when stickers
The
happen.
teams were making 15,
No, no, no,
20K?
no.
The
NBK.
players.
Let's
Okay,
yeah,
yeah. All right.
So and now it's probably even more. Like I don't even know what it is now, but at the
It's a
time,
lot. It's a
yeah,
lot.
at the time, but at the time, 15, 20, 30K, that's a lot per month per player, times 5 players plus coach plus manager plus nutritionalist plus your roster gets expensive. But
Plus analysts,
yeah,
plus yeah,
yeah.
all
So
that.
let's
Yeah.
yeah. So what I used to say when I would talk to like a Hastro or the guys at Liquid, I'd be like, okay, you're paying MBK 15 grand a month, right? You've deemed him worthy of that. And of that 15 grand, the only other money Nathan can make is if he streams and gets his Twitch subs or something like that, right? Like that kind of content. But anything related to the game of Counter-Strike, being a pro, he can't sell any sponsorship. He can't do anything like that. That's all yours. You pay him $15,000 a month for that privilege, right? You get every category. But in the categories you give, you as a company sell 5. You sell the peripherals. You don't sell a hat. He's not wearing a hat. And he's wearing a jersey with your logos on it. But like, no, you're not selling a watch sponsorship. You're not selling shoes. You're not selling lifestyle shit, right? And so, and I would, also say the same thing to the tournament organizers, right? We roll into a tournament, and you ESL are now rev sharing with the team owners. You have the Louvre agreement. The Louvre agreement was that. It's gone now, right? A lot of things have changed. But you are directly rev sharing with players. Players are not getting any bump, whether they do that or not, in their salaries. So what we would like to do is figure out a way how you help the team owners get their nut so they show up, but then also the players get incentivized to show up and do their media days and do the other fun shit, the skits and all that. And so you do a player rev share that is for the pool of players that are at your events, right? So
Yeah.
players are happy, team owners are happy, you're happy. And your rev share is going to be the same thing. You're just separating it some, ESL. You're going to give some of that to the players, and you're taking it from. But the players are going to do more for it, right? They're going to be actively part of your world. They're going to sign a collective bargain agreement, just like the NBA Player Association signs with the NBA League, and there's tit for tat, right? And so we're going to give you new shit for that money, right? We're going to take that burden away from team mode. Anyway, long rant. I will try to go quicker. Uh,
You're good, man.
and
You're
then
good.
I would say to the team owners, this is where it gets really easy for you. We actually want you to pay MBK less a month. I don't want you. It's not healthy for all the money for a player to make to come from one source in the ecosystem. It's actually incredibly unhealthy. So
Was it
go ahead.
was it ever brought up in any of these conversations about revenue sharing like they do in the NFL and the NBA and stuff like that? Like, was there ever any talk about, because I don't want to speculate, but I'm sure that organizations like FaZe and Liquid sell more merchandise than, say, you know, um, I don't know some of the new ones, but some of the
Oh yeah,
new
for sure.
organizations, I'm sure they sell more merchandise. So was there any kind of like revenue sharing talked about or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean the Louvre agreement has those things in it between the teams and
Okay.
ESL. That was what
All
that
right.
partner league was, right? It was rev share, it was participation fees to guarantee that you did go to our events, right? It was a tit for tat kind of thing, right? And I think it's scaled. The more things you went to, the more your rev share was. Uh, and then again, what the player association was trying to do was again, just all the player association was trying to do was like what history has shown us every other successful sport has going for it is a separation and another lobbying entity that cares about one thing, right? The players care about the players. The NFL cares about, like, the NFL teams care about the NFL teams, right? So that's all. And again, football, they all have associations, right?
Yeah.
So same kind of thing. We wanted nothing different. So I would go to Hastro. I would go to the guys at Liquid and go, same conversation. I want you to pay your players less because your problem is you're paying them too much money. Your labor costs are too high. You say that every day to everybody, and I'm with you. You're if you don't have enough money coming in to cover it, your costs are too high, right? If you're trying to run a business and not a charity, right? So I'm like, help us help you. We're just trying to be what every sport now is, and it's divided like this. We've got a place for the players to call home. They can bargain for their own shit. And so for you, what we would like to do is we're gonna take the player rights and we're going to organize things that don't conflict with Team Liquid's version of your players' rights, right? Because LeBron James has his rights are used in various places, right? His
Of
team can
course.
use
He's
him,
he's got
he
video
can use
games and
him,
everything like
yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
but all those things he's licensing, right? And then obviously the league can use him in certain instances. So we're trying to do a separation of church and state because right now it's very like just TO and team. That's it. And then this thing comes out of it, right? Well, you all want to be this professional sport thing. Let's do that. Let's do this part of it too. And I would say so. And then let's look at things that you guys never monetize, right? Because a team, and again, I'm an ex-team owner, right? Teams are structured to be talent agents, right? They have all these players rostered. They own all their likeness rights. They own all the rights, right? Fuck, these teams even added streamers, right, for a while, and content creators and all this other shit, right? And the idea behind it is if you're an actual agent, is you go knock on every goddamn door for me, right? I want to sell necklaces. I want to sell a watch. I always wear a hat. So find me a fucking hat company, right? Um, and the idea was to divvy up this huge list of 30 sponsor categories to the ones that the teams actually sell and need. Peripherals, you can't take Razer away from us, whatever, right? Even though that's always bullshit because you want the player to use exactly what he wants to use to be the
Don't they
best.
usually, yeah, don't they usually use it anyway?
We
Like,
used to have to bullshit back in the StarCraft days. Like Huck would refuse to. Well, like again, we were StarCraft. We had StarCraft 2 players, and we had a Steel Series sponsorship. They eventually switched their keys out, but their keys are exclusively FPS keys, right? So they're not built for. They're not light. They're meant for RTS or FPS, which you push down farther to get going,
yeah,
right?
they're
Um,
not meant for
yeah.
APM. They're
So
meant
Huck and
for,
like
yeah.
everyone in that lair would be like, "Fuck these keyboards." It was a nightmare, man. Another reason, but do you want to win? Do you want your player to be the most confident in mind, body, and soul? You want whatever mouse he fucking wants. If it's a fucking 2000 Microsoft IntelliMouse 3 that still works, right? Right? Then
Yeah.
that's what you find for him, right? So anyway, we the whole idea was to divvy up categories, and then Nathan MBK has an agent, and he goes finds a watch sponsor. He goes and finds a shoe sponsor, right? And not every sponsor, not every player on every team can get a bunch of sponsors.
Of course not.
None of them
It's like
want
it's
it.
like in the NBA. Not
Yeah.
everybody has a shoe sponsor
So
in the
now
NBA.
Envious is going to pay him $9,000 a month, and he's going to make $5,000 a month on his own outside sponsorship, and from his player association deals with the events he goes to as a player, he makes the rest up in that revenue. Now Nathan has still made his $15,000 a month, but it's been spread out, and technically the teams have done better because they lost nothing because they weren't selling it. Right,
True.
that always freaked me out. Like when I saw these, because our contract wasn't that long, and then lawyers showed up during StarCraft 2 and later, and these contracts got real long and real detailed, and like every category is listed on some of these like huge contracts that you could possibly sell as a influencer. Apparel, like I said, watches, hats. You fucking name it. So figure out what you need, carve it out, and then Nathan can have an agent and he turns into a little entrepreneur. But when it comes to Counter-Strike players or any of these players, there's just not a lot. There was, and again, I have not looked at a player contract in probably 3-4 years. 2022 when I left the PA, so 3 years or so. I don't imagine they've changed much. But that was the whole idea, was to help figure out, get them a proper seat and sit at a Valve table too, right? Part of it was build an organization that can professionally knock on Valve's door and go, hey, by the way, this, that, and from our perspective, this game as an esport, right? Can you fix this? Can you fix that? Can you fix this, right? And there was middling level of success there. But the whole idea was you get up and running with maybe a map committee, right? Of these, you got 5 players that said, yeah, I'll be on a map committee. Now Valve's got 5 pros that before a map goes fucking anywhere public, let these guys beat on a little bit, right? They'll catch some shit. And again, that was the whole idea, right? Long story. So player association comes and goes. I then focus, and again, do not peak. So this is happening. I will get going on this now. So fast forward to, I'm sitting at my house here in Phoenix, and I get a call from a friend of mine who owns a small creative agency in town, John Pierce. Actually, you live here. You should meet him. He owns a Player 2 agency, really cool little agency, does a bunch of different stuff for different, some team stuff, some Roblox stuff, bunch of different activations, Make-A-Wish, etc. He reached out to me and goes, hey, this guy's going to reach out to you. He's business dev at a studio in Scottsdale. I'm like, what are you talking about? What kind of studio? He's like, it's a full-blown like broadcast production studio. It's in North Scottsdale. He reached out to me because they're trying to figure out how to get into gaming and esports. I'm like, you are the production dude. You're in town. So this guy Ben's gonna call you. I'm like, what the fuck? What's the name of this? What's the name of this place? He's like, it's called Sneaky Big Studios. I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks, John. And so I Google it. I'm like, Sneaky Big Studios is a state-of-the-art, gorgeous commercial production facility in North Scottsdale. owned by Bob Parsons, the owner of PXG Golf, ex-owner of GoDaddy. That's where he made his millions. Also, one of the founders of Intuit and a bunch of stuff like that, like tax software and a bunch of different shit. Huge commercial real estate guy. He's a billionaire. He is one of the richest dudes in Arizona, one of the richest dudes in the United States. Crusty old dude, owns the largest.
Crusty old
Yeah,
dude like me and you.
yeah, like talks like this, does all his own commercials. Come on down to PXG. We'll get you fitted in some clubs. Super, super cool dude. Um, and so I'm looking at this thing, and I live in North Phoenix, like 10 minutes away from this place. I'm like, I had no idea it existed, because I wasn't really looking for commercial facilities in town, right? All the shit I traveled for on esports was just out on the road. And Goffrag TV was long since gone, right? So I wasn't really doing that kind of shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? I hope this Ben guy does call me. This place looks crazy. They have this huge green screen psych with this technology that does Unreal Engine, chroma key, so you can virtually put people in environments and shit. Super fucking cool shit at the time. And again, really nice building. And most warehouses, most production facilities, studios, warehouses, production lots are in shitty warehouse parts of cities. They just are, right? ESL Studios, shitty part of Burbank, right? Because that's just where you can. That's what makes sense affordability wise for the ROI of owning a production studio, because you need lots of volumes in a big space, right? And you don't put that in commercial districts of Scottsdale, right? But this fucking place is in this huge office building right across from the largest Harley Davidson dealership in the Southwest that he also owns. He owns this huge tract of land in North
Of course
Scottsdale.
he does.
So I'm
Of
just blown
course he
away. I'm like,
does.
well, how did this place get here, right? Like, what is this place, right? So this guy Ben does call me, and he's like, hey, I hear you're the guy, and I'm like, hey, I hear you got a cool building. He's like, why don't you come down? I'm like, okay. So I cruise down. And I walk in, and 24-hour security, like badge to get in. Like it's in a big office building because he owns a creative agency and a bunch of other shit that he's got all in this building, right? 2 stories of underground fucking air conditioned parking. Like, and again, in Phoenix, right? Underground air conditioned parking, right? It's just like, yeah, just gorgeous, right? And not that old. It hadn't opened that long ago. Smelled like a new fucking car, right?
Yeah.
And this is 2018. At the time, a NFL knockoff league called the AAF is about to launch. I don't know if you're familiar.
I've
It
never heard of that before,
yeah.
to be honest with you.
If you Google AAF, you'll see all about it. It didn't last a full season. It was backed by some ex whoever's whatever's, right? Some ex football people. I If you said the name, I'd go, yeah, that sounds like the guy. It didn't work because like no competition to the NFL ever works. But the hosted desk, they had a big analyst desk, and like the hosted nightly show, and where the broadcasts, other than the actual at the arena, like at the football games broadcast, was coming out of sneaky big studios. They were doing this, right, and they were in the midst of firing this all up, and it was super cool. And again, they had this super cool green screen technology where they had a real desk, 5 people sitting behind it, but in a full, looked like New York ESPN fake studio behind them. 2-story, and it looked crisp. Like this technology, it's called Brainstorm. Super. And I go down there.
So it wasn't like this behind me then?
Oh,
Is that
dude,
what you're
or
saying?
like this if I turn my key on right now. It's just fucking like again, built for broadcast TV. So broadcast quality, like when you turn that key on, you would have
Yeah.
thought these dudes. And when you move the jib camera, it moves the whole set. So again, it tracks, which means that it moves the whole world. It's not like if I grab my camera right now, my green screen would not move, right? The world of illusion is for real, right? So super
If I
neat.
if I touch my camera, it might turn off again.
Yeah,
So
yeah, don't do that. Yeah. So he gives me a whole tour. Like it's got green rooms. I want you to see it. You and your
I,
buddies.
I want to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys need to
for
see
sure.
it at Good Game. Super cool. So I get a whole tour again. Hair and makeup, green room, 2 broadcast studios, two control rooms, one big, one audio control room. Because again, Bob Parsons built a state-of-the-art studio to film anything he might need for any of his companies. Because he was tired of going to LA to do it. Because that's where him and his team would go. And so he kind of had a light bulb moment where like, wait a minute, if I have to go to LA, that means everybody who wants this quality of shit has to go to LA. What if I build something here for me, but also turn it into a business, and maybe there's business here in the Southwest as well. And so other people that are going from Phoenix to LA can stay here and film their shit, right? So he opens Sneak Big. He builds this huge monstrosity of a building, and within it is Sneaky Big Studios. So I roll in there. I see this whole thing. They're doing AAF and a bunch of shit. And again, like I said, he owns PXG Golf. They're a big golf company. So they do golf commercials out of there, animations, all sorts of shit. One of the guys that works for me just ran the LED wall for them last 2 days to do a PXG golf commercial. Because we're into that shit. Anyway, so because 6 years later, we are 6 years from current. By the way, if you're paying attention at home, this happened about 6 years ago. I started Do Not Pee. With some other people, Jason Alchemist Baker, no longer here, helped me start it. My partner in crime back then. So I see this whole place, and I have this conversation with Ben. And again, it is a boutique, gorgeous place, full broadcast control room, ready to do live TV, live whatever, live sports, like gorgeous, like, and literally smells. It's still, my friend, smells
It still
brand new.
smells brand new.
Yeah, I was there like last week. Still smells brand new. Anyway, so and he's asking me all sorts of questions because he doesn't know shit, right? He's Googled it, and he's like, how do I get Riot to know about my studio? What is ESL? How does esports work? What is this? What is Twitch? How should I care? What can I do with this place, right? And I'm like, dude, you'll probably never get Riot because Riot doesn't need this place. They have their own. They have their own in LA. They don't need to come here. But you're on the right track, right? Like, there are lots of entities making content. You've got a really fucking beautiful facility. I'll tell you that right goddamn now. Nicest one I've seen. Certainly nicest one. I've been to ESL Burbank. It's not bad, but it's, again, this is gorgeous tech-wise and everything, right? So there are some avenues here. Let me think about it. Maybe we can work something out, and I can consult for you, and I can help because I'm still retired. I'm on EG money, right? I got lots of money in the fucking bank. I'm taking care of my mom. I'm chilling. I'm smoking weed. I'm just fucking relaxing, playing video games, right? Living life.
Living the life.
I think I might be streaming at that point. I might be actually streaming still. Scoots After Dark. I can't remember. It all blurs right after a while. But I come home and I call Jason, this guy Alchemist, who's a good friend of mine, who lived out here, did Godfrey TV with me. Was
an admin for Cal League for a
yeah,
while
all
too.
the way back. Yeah, Jason goes all the way back, right? And I just call him because I'm laughing that because he's actually back in esports, but he's freelancing. He's doing blast direction and production. He's traveling for a bunch of people. He did E-League when E-League was a thing. He was producer of that. So he's back in the mix, but we're not doing stuff on the regular together. We're just kind of buds, right? I just want to call him and go, dude, you're not going to believe what's right down the fucking street from me. This place is gorgeous, right? And I have that conversation. I'm like, what are you up to? How you been? Blah, 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 blah. And I explain this all to him. And he's like, well, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm consulting. He's doing his freelance directing stuff. But I'm consulting for these guys that are looking to maybe open an esports production facility because they have a sports book. This is the guys behind Rivalry Sportsbook, but they also sponsor a bunch of content creators. They're sponsoring like Richard's content at the time, and a bunch of Dota people that are big into Dota, and I think a bunch of different stuff. And they're thinking about maybe consolidating so they can up these people's content and maybe put them in a studio versus like everyone on bedroom cameras. I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm like, do you know where they want to do it? And how deep are they along in this idea? And he's like, no, they don't know. They've hired me to figure out, where to maybe do it based on their content people. They got folks in Atlanta. They got Richards in Vegas at the time, I think. They're in Canada. They're all spread out. And if they do it, like what kind of gear to buy and suss out for their thing. Still kind of esporty budget stuff. And I'm like, well, shit. If they don't necessarily care, maybe this thing I just saw fits what Rivalry needs, and their content creators could come here to use it. Maybe there's a way, So I'm like, maybe, and he mentions who he's working with at Rivalry, which is this guy Steven, who I met as a venture capital investment guy at one of the E-League, one of the E-League majors, because him and his buddies were figuring out where to spend their money in esports and gaming, and they didn't want to get burned. They didn't know what to do, but they knew they wanted to do something because they were big into gaming, and they settled on a sports book. But they at that point he had a venture, he had a fund, and he's like, I'm not quite sure yet. So I had a really long conversation in the VIP room for like an hour and a half. Again, super nice dude, and he was looking for adults in the room. And again, I was an outspoken dude on talk shows and shit, so he knew. So I'm like, I know Steven. Holy fuck, what is he doing? So we all get on a call, right? Because Jason wasn't that far along, really, with like, we're gonna rent this building, And so we get on this call, and I'm like, what are you all cooking? What's happening here, Steven? Like, nice to see you again. Like, what have you figured out? What are you doing? And he's like, we don't really know. I got Jason figuring out some stuff because obviously content is always, big, and I've always had a saying that content is king, right? Like,
That's what I say.
content is king.
That's literally
right?
what I say.
You can be a League of Legends fan, you can be a Counter-Strike fan, you can be a Dota fan, you can be a Rocket League fan, you can be a Fortnite fan, you can be a IRL. Content, they all, behind that is all content for the fan base, right? And he's like, I don't really know. And I'm like, well, it literally, light bulb goes off. I'm like, why don't we fucking start a company, right? Jason is freelancing, and Jason doesn't want to freelance anymore. Jason wants to settle down. You don't, why don't, if we're looking at what the space needs, maybe a production company, and where we separated and where we're not meant to be an ESL, and like I'm not meant to be a tournament organizer, I'm not looking to do that, was the whole idea of Do Not Peak was a facility adjacent or facility based production company, right? But one that doesn't build and spend $5 million of someone's money to build the facility and hope it works, right? Embed yourself somewhere that's already built and have a favorable rate card and work as a partnership and do that, right? So I'm like, why don't we open a production company, put it inside Sneaky Big if they're willing? They want gaming and esports business. They just want more revenue. They want their shit rented more. Why don't we bring it all to them? So Ben, this guy that knows nothing about gaming and esports, doesn't have to figure it out. We'll figure it out. But we'll move into this beautiful fucking building I just saw and rent their shit that is gorgeous. And then we sleep at home at night. We don't travel. We're not meant to be a traveling thing, right? That's a different kind of production company that travels and does gigs out of ballrooms and arenas and all that, right? I aspire to do some of that here in town. I haven't done it yet. And Steve was like, well, fuck, what do you think it'll cost? Figure that out for me. Ask the guys at Sneaky Big if they would be willing to do some sort of production agreement that embeds us. And it's literally the movie business, right? So in the movie business, you've got someone that owns the facility, right? I'll use Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers owns the lots, right? They've got 20 fucking sound stages, right? On top of those sound stages, they've got tons of office buildings, right? Those are all rented by production companies that then move in to make movies on the lot. Warner Brothers distributes and helps facilitate the making of the movies that Bad Robot makes and Seth Rogen.
All the little logos at the beginning of a movie. There's like 17 of them now.
Yeah, and the same thing happens with TV shows. Like Seth Rogen, who makes The Studio, if you have seen that show on Apple, right? Really, or any of these shows. They embed themselves on a lot where they film every day, right? They don't own the lot. They rent the lot as part of a trade out agreement, either in cash or in trade, or whose lot they're on owns part of the content. They own part of the IP, right? So that was the whole idea. And that's how movies get made, right? It's like there's 12 production companies sitting on Warner Brothers lot, all making movies, right? And yeah, they'll go film out in the desert too, but they're using all that shit, right? And so that was the whole idea. Is we approached Sneaky Big and said, hey, just like this, let us embed. We will worry about gaming and esports and all this influencer crazy shit. You guys keep doing the shit you're doing, which is regular commercials and all this kind of shit. You're local. If you ever saw the not lawyer commercials or the unlawyered lawyer commercials, I can't remember. Yeah. He rips his sleeves off. Like they're those like the lawyer commercials. They made that kind of shit with the green screen, right? Come on down, I'll get you the best deal on your divorce. Or he rips his fucking sleeves off. So because they make commercials and do all they did all the PXG shit. So like we will basically come in and give you some revenue, right? And it's exactly what we fucking did, right? We made a deal with Sneaky Big. We got a favorable rate card. We got a couple offices in that building with then a growth plan to have more. Um, we moved in. We announced it. We started making shows. I had a weekly show called The Breakdown on Twitch, which was a weekly news show talking about things I wanted to rant about, like live on one almost, right? Me all by myself ranting, and all to be a tech demo. Like if you go watch that old show, it's all to show the green screen technology with a fake desk in front of me and cool shit. Did that for a while, and then we started knocking on doors because we're basically a white label. The whole idea is make our own content and see what flies. Make our own shows. We're a Twitch partner. See what happens there, and then sell our services. Become white label, co-brand. Oh, you need something? We can make that for you. We disappear. It's a Samsung event, right? Now, sadly, but kind of funny because the world is just a big fucking circle.
Definitely is.
About 6 months, maybe less into this, at Sneaky Big, we launch, we press releases go out, we hire people, I get people moving to town, we start hiring editors and all sorts of stuff. COVID hits, right? So COVID hits, and we all go remote, and so we're just doing our own like D&D shows. We fire up a Valorant news show. I didn't want to do the breakdown remote because the whole idea of that was the technology of the studio. So I'm like, look, I just stopped doing it. I felt, it's kind of funny, man. I fell into the same fucking rut. I was like, man, every week I got to figure out what stupid shit I got to fucking talk about. And like, stuff I would want to talk about, I'd be like, oh, that's probably not good because I'm also owner of this business and I'm trying to grow a company and like, eh. So I would just, these are all corners I always paint myself into, right? The nature of life, right? So we're like, okay, we won't do the breakdown, but let's do Valoranting because Valorant has just dropped as this new game, and let's jump on it, be ahead of the curve, start a podcast for that. And we had a podcast going for quite a while for that show. But we just sit and we wait it out because, again, I'm taking care of my elderly mom. She has emphysema. So if I get sick and she gets sick, like, it's game over, right? It will kill her, man. And so we're waiting for the vaccines. And Sneaky Big slowly gets protocols in place, just like Hollywood. They slowly got protocols in place for how to do COVID shoots and testing and all those things. So as we get towards the end of COVID, we start talking to Sneaky Big again, and I do have to caveat that the CEO of Sneaky Big was the daughter of the owner of Sneaky Big, Bob Parsons, but the general manager of Sneaky Big was this guy Bob Sullivan. That's who we did our Bob and Ben, the biz dev guy, are who we dealt with. That's who the deal happened with. I met Marianne like once in passing, twice, but everything was basically Bob up until a month before COVID, and Bob quits. And then Marianne basically becomes interim GM and CEO. She doesn't know anything about production. She's not meant to. She runs the agency upstairs. But so we start talking to her about stuff, but very lightly about, hey, when can we move? Because the whole idea is we're going to move into more space. We're going to get an area that when you come visit, we've got signs on the door and like we've got an actual office presence. Right now, we have 2 offices within Sneaky Big. Upstairs, we'll get our own. Truly hang out our own shingle. So when you come see Do Not Peek, you go upstairs, and there we are, with closed door. Inside, that's us. So we start chatting about that, figuring out various areas. COVID hits. Fast forward, we're getting ready to leave COVID. Marianne starts pressuring us to come back. She wants us to come back in the building because obviously we're revenue generating. We're doing shows there, and we're not comfortable yet. I'm like, but now is a great time to figure out why don't now, while we're not back, why don't we figure out exactly where we're coming back to and build it out? So when we come back to the new spot, we don't come back to just the 2 offices that the 5 of us are crammed into, right? Let's move to plan B, phase 2, if you will, now and get it ready. And then when we get our vaccinated, we all feel good. We come back. I can hire the rest of my crew. We move in upstairs. Bob's your uncle, right? Let's have a meeting to talk about that. So we go to have a meeting to talk about that. God, this is a long fucking rant about Scoots. Jesus.
We haven't even gotten to the questions
yet. Yeah,
yet.
it'll be 5-parter. This is like the second question. No, this is the first question. So we go back. Long story short, I will truly try to be late to this. She rug pulls us. She tries to raise our rate card prices. She tries to raise our rent. And then she also tries to say the square footage in the area that we had deemed ours might not be available, even at the exorbitant rates. and we have this huge back and forth that you're rug pulling us. I didn't know that because it's all documented. Like we had a fucking floor plan with red is where you start, yellow is where you move next, blue, all costed everything by Bob and Ben, and she absolutely knew. She says that she never saw these things, that she didn't know these prices, and they're too low. We're like, that's bullshit. You had to have seen these. Bob couldn't tie his shoes in this building without you knowing about it. So there's no way he quoted real estate
He
prices
couldn't
without
tie
you
his
knowing
shoes.
because you guys are a real estate company. He had to ask someone those rates. Like I know that she knew, right? But she's just trying to, and we're just, and Jason and I are just like, we're kind of befuddled because like at one point you're trying to get us back in the building. You want us back in. You want us back in, but you're jacking every cost up. That's the opposite of like helping us get back in here, right? And she literally raises the rent 300%. She's like, your rent's going to be this, and your rate card has to go back to this. And I'm like, and again, it turns into a fight. I'm not going to belabor that for this podcast. But I'm like, you're rug pulling. This is bullshit. We'll think about it, but I doubt this is happening. And we leave, and we don't go back. We cancel our production agreement. We cancel our lease. We go get our computers and shit, and we move pure virtual. At the same time, roughly what happens is Bob Sullivan has decided to open his own company and opens Bitfire Studios in North Phoenix and decides to go for it and literally opens his own production facility. Knows a bunch of people at Sneaky Big, so knows that we're not going back, hears that there has been a falling out, calls me, goes, hey, I hear you're not going back to Sneaky Big. What are you going to do with Do Not Peak? Do you need a place? Do you need a home? And I'm like, yeah, why, what are you doing? And he explains, I'm opening a studio. I'm going for it. I bought a production company out of Boston. They have a transmission product that lets you send video and audio very high quality back and forth over the internet for broadcast technology. And I'm going to open a Phoenix branch. And I got a big warehouse facility in North Phoenix off the 101. Do you want to maybe take a look at it? And I'm like, yes, please. And so we look at it, and it is a warehouse with some office in front. It is older. It is not a gorgeous building in North Scottsdale at all, and it has no gear.
It's not billionaire bags, I mean.
Yeah, and it's got nothing in it. It's literally an empty warehouse. But we're coming out of COVID, and we're having some internet issues with our guys at home that are running our broadcast. So we start by renting one of his office spaces on the far side of a building because he's taking one side. He's not sure what he's going to. It's big, 60,000 square feet, and he's using a few offices up front. And he's about to build out a studio that we can help consult on what it is. And I'm like, yeah, can we have this office over here in the corner and get internet? And we'll at least move our control room to a real control room, move our guys out of their house. And when we do Valoranting, they can drive here, and we got good solid bandwidth, and we can get that going a little better, a little more consistent. So we started with doing that, and then we started helping Bob plan Bitfire Studios, which turned into a gorgeous facility, a huge LED wall, another big soundstage, 2 wired control rooms for broadcast TV or anything else you needed. And we were able to build out exactly what we wanted in regards to like an L shape of our offices. So we did exactly that. We were embedded in his production facility. And that happened right out of COVID, what, 2020-ish. And so exact same idea that we did at Sneaky Big, favorable rate card, good rent, facility we needed. We had 12 people working on us at one time, really rocking and rolling. So it's cool. And then, so we did that for several years. Now, fast forward to about a year ago, Bitfire is not making enough revenue, so they start winding down. He just can't get it. We're not enough business, and our white label is not enough, and he just can't make it work. So Bob Sullivan and gang have to close the Phoenix portion of Bitfire, and that happened going into this summer. We moved out in like June, but they closed literally a year ago. I guess they would have wound down, and it was just kind of us in the building through the winter because they had a lease they had to keep paying on. And the gear got sold to various bits and pieces. Big bummer. And it basically was a dick measuring contest between Bob Parsons and Bob Sullivan, right? Because during all this, what happens at Sneaky Big, Parsons gets kind of tired of it, closes it, gets actually closes his creative studio as well. It's gone. Lets his daughter go. Lets a bunch of people go. Opens PXG Studios back up, but only kind of closed for PXG to use, right? Because they're still making content, right? So kind of internal use only studio, which is crazy for a $15+ million building to be just being used for him. But then Bob Sullivan closes. Bob Parsons goes, well, you know what? Fuck it. Because also during this, Bob Sullivan has this gorgeous LED wall, right? Green screen technology is getting replaced with this beautiful LED technology, right? Where you do LED walls and you can track and move the scenes behind it and do floors and shit. So Sullivan had a nice wall and floor unit going. Parsons goes, well, that's funny. And he puts one that's like 4 times the size
Of course he
where
did.
his green screen used to be is now a 60-foot half circle monster of a wall, like almost a Hollywood make a movie wall versus Bob had like a wedge wall, if you will, right? It's like 2 sides. Um,
Yeah.
so this thing's huge, right? But he also really couldn't get enough going with how many people he had on staff for Sneaky Big. So because he hangs the shingle back out, Bob is closed. He then closes, and now though has decided fuck it, and has hired a guy that used to work for him and used to work for Bob Sullivan, super nice guy, Steve Mormon, and he's hung the shingle back out. So full circle, Do Not Peek is about 1.5 miles away from Sneaky Big. That is now back open for freelance business, white label business, other people renting it, and we help run the wall over there. It's because it's the exact same type of wall, the same software and hardware run it. So myself and Tyler, who works for me, are trained on the walls. So Tyler works over there. Again, he spent a couple days over there just doing a commercial. So now we're roughly the same thing we always wanted to be, but I'm not in the building. I didn't want to. They weren't entertaining the idea of us to move back into Sneaky Big, but I had to move somewhere when Bitfire closed. So we just rented office space in North Scottsdale, specifically to be close to Sneaky Big, because if I have a client that just needs remote work and it's web camera shows or anything like that, I can do that from because I have a control room in my studio or my facility. I don't have a studio really. I could turn my front room into one with I could drop two
This is
talking
my
heads.
studio right
Yeah,
here.
yeah. But we have like a real broad control room, and then Sneaky Big has anything. So any talent, any guest, any client that I have that needs to upgrade, wants to fly talent in to sit behind a desk or anything like that, I can upgrade them to stuff like that, and that's what we do. And then Do Not Peek specializes in whatever someone wants to hire us for. We do a lot of charity work. We do a whole lot right now. We do a whole lot of tabletop RPG, which is Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, where people play online with
Warhammer and stuff like that too,
with rule
probably.
sets and rolling dice
Yeah.
and stuff. And we do that we do shows that then fundraise for charity. So prime example, the kind of shows we do. Next Wednesday, we're doing a show for a VTuber by the name of Vexoria, a very popular VTuber. She's hired us to build and run a stream and a campaign for her and her friends for about 6 hours to do D&D and to raise money for not for Make-A-Wish, for Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And we do a lot of this kind of stuff. About every month, we'll do one of these D&D shows for charity or something because we just love it, raising money for charity.
It's awesome. It's an awesome thing you guys do. To be honest,
it's really fun content. It's really fun for 6 hours, and it's for a good cause. And we do that kind of shit. But like whatever, like we were always RFP and stuff, esports stuff, gaming stuff, podcast stuff. We'll do whatever. We don't really do our own content. Like we used to have our own shows on Twitch, but we just found that the work involved versus the viewership just really wasn't worth it. So we stopped doing Valoranting and any of our own kind of content. And that's what we do. Always just looking to make content. And my mom passed away this last year, so we've also are entertaining.
Sorry to hear that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. You had nothing to do with it, I don't think.
No,
If
I
you
definitely
did, you
didn't.
son of a bitch. No. No. But it also like I'm ungrounded. For a long time, I just couldn't travel. Right, I had to take care of mom. And so if someone were to hire us and want us to go somewhere and call and produce a show somewhere else, we do entertain those now. We're not really built for that. I don't have a warehouse of gear ready to get on airplanes. But but that's all rentable and stuff. So we kind of do whatever. Um, uh, yeah, and I'd love to figure out, as I was talking to you offline when I met you, one thing that I neglected, and we took a stab at a little bit with the city of Glendale right when we moved into Bitfire, was trying to figure out how to be a local production company, right? And how to figure out, because again, we are in the fifth largest city, right?
Hmm.
So obviously lots of gamers here, lots of companies here, lots of stuff to activate. How do I do stuff here versus just worried about stuff out there, right? So that's kind of me. That's my journey. I know I've spent a long fucking time just talking to you about SirScoots. And now we're going to talk about a bunch of very specific Counter-Strike shit. But yeah, that's the journey of me. Yeah. And again,
It's
you have to come see our shit.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely want to see your shit.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see, like you were just saying, if we can get something going locally here again, maybe revive the community, as it were, which is basically on life support. The land
Yeah.
centers here, that there was a really good land scene here for a very long time. It's how I met Sean. It's how Sean came up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was here in Arizona. He grew up in Chandler, lived in Chandler, went to high school in Chandler, and uh, we used to play against each other on lands every weekend. There was four prominent land centers here in Arizona, that the owners would get together, and be like, we're gonna have our tournament this weekend. You guys have next weekend,
Yeah.
so on and so
Yeah. You
forth.
work together.
Yep, and
Rising
and
tide, right?
yep,
Raises all
and
ships.
that went on for God, I want to say like 6 years, probably from 2000 to well, no, probably about 8 years, about 2000 to 2008, and then it kind of just all
Yep.
went downhill from there.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, we'll get into the question part
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
of
Woo.
this podcast.
Woo.
Um, what is